In this series, we are going to use Python to introduce coding in a way that is suitable for absolute beginners and children. We are going to be using the Total module. The Total package in Python provides a low threshold way to learn or teach software development using the Python programming language. This video series documents what we use in our association for introducing children from 5 years and above into computer programming. You will need to have Python installed on your computer to go through this series. By the way, if you are a child, please ask an adult or your parents to help you install the program. Do not go playing around with the computer of your parents. I have a download link for you in the description below. First things off, who should take this course? Everyone who is an absolute beginner should. It is not like everyone will become a computer scientist or engineer. We, however, now live in the tech revolution. Just have a look around you and you're going to see many gadgets run by computers, beginning from computers themselves, to smart TVs, to smartphones, to washing machines, to everything you can think of. It is likely that many jobs will require more computer knowledge as the days go by. And guess what? Learning any form of computer programming improves your logical skills in a great way. First, what is a program? What is a software? Or better still, what is a code? A program, a code, or a software is a sequence of instructions that tell a computer what to do. Each computer-driven gadget or machine you have is always being told what to do by a computer program. On their own, they do not know what to do. Therefore, we can imagine there are people who can speak with computers. These people write a kind of language that the computer can understand. Without those programs in a language understood by the computer, nothing happens. The computer will just sit there looking at you. Just imagine your smartphone. When you pick it up and have to use the interface that addresses the language the smartphone or computer can understand, if you do nothing with the smartphone, it doesn't go to the next stage. When you pick it up, you have to use the interface that addresses a language the smartphone or another computer can understand. And this is the only way you can use a smartphone. Without using those interfaces to address the programs, the smartphone stays there and looks at you and asking, "What do you want me to do for you?" Most of us use computer languages through interfaces, but do not know what runs in the background as they get our computers to work. However, the reality is that some smart engineers have written the language and installed them in there for us to use. How kind of them? You can converse with a computer using a language. For us humans, we have thousands of languages with different levels of development that can be used for different purposes. This may be English, French, German, Italian, Mungaka, Swahili, etc. These are called natural languages. By the way, I speak some natural African and European languages. One African language I speak is called Mungaka. I can use English or French or German or Italian for science and engineering, but cannot use my African language. It is the same way with computers. Similarly, computers have many languages that can be used for different purposes. Computer languages fall under formal languages. Formal languages have been designed by people for specific purposes. And you already know some formal languages. Examples of formal languages you know are mathematical notations like x equals y plus z, chemical languages showing reactions between chemicals, Formal languages have strict rules on how they are written. Programming languages are formal and have been designed to help us talk or communicate with computers. Python is one of such languages. Python is a general-purpose and easy-to-use programming language. By the way, this is a language I would recommend to any beginner. Apart of that, there are other languages like SQL or SQL, Java, JavaScript, C#, C++, Python, a dialect of the S language, PHP, Ruby on the Rails, and the list can go on and on. Each of these programs can be used in a better way for some purposes than for others. Just like for the human languages, Python can be used for education, software development, scientific and numeric computing, building desktop graphical user interfaces, programming machines and robots, programming games and 3D graphics, building websites and programming networks, designing business applications, and the list can go on and on. Indeed, Python can be used in many applications. So you have an advantage if you learn Python. Moreover, the skills you learn in Python can be applied to other programming languages later in your life. Now that we have a little bit of background information about Python, let us start by using it. Let us begin by starting up Python and choosing the program called idle. This window that comes up is called the Python shell. Here you can type in commands and execute them for results. These signs here that look like 3 greater than symbols or chevrons are called the prompt. The cursor blinks always, calling for your attention. This is a place you will type in commands for things to happen. I want us to begin from what you know already and heading into the unknown. You all have been using calculators, right? This may be calculators on your smartphone or anywhere else, and you have been using smartphones. Guess what? You already have the skills to use Python. One way we can use Python is to use it as a calculator. Type in any computations, hit enter, and see the result. Let us type in 3 plus 2. When you finish typing in, press enter and see what happens. Let us type in 3 multiplied by 2. And multiplication in Python is done using the asterisk symbol. When you finish typing it in, press enter and see the results. Let us type in 3 divided by 2. When you finish typing it in, press enter and see the results. Do you see what has happened? You've done some basic calculations. Congratulations! You can already use Python for basic calculations. Let us now go ahead and write our first code. Remember, this is a formal language and you have to type in everything exactly as you see it. Print hello friend. Then hit enter to evaluate. Let us write another one. Print my first ever computer program added 3 and 2. Then hit enter to evaluate. Now, let us explain what happened. Here we give the computer a command called print. We are asking it to print something on the screen. In the brackets, we gave it what we want it to print. The information we give in the brackets is called an argument. We are going to see lots of arguments as we proceed with the series. As we go on, we are going to be doing a lot of typing. We are going to type several commands and letting them talk to the computer. We would combine some commands to get more interesting results. With a lot of typing involved, it becomes difficult for us to keep track of what we are doing. One way of keeping tracks in life is by making notes. We all make notes, don't we? Do you know we can make notes within Python? And how do we do this? We do this by placing the pound sign after a quote. When the computer reads the code, the pound sign tells it not to read what is behind it. From there on, it jumps to the next line to read what is in the next line of code after the next prompt. These are called escape symbols. This way, we can make notes of what we are doing within the code we are writing. All programming languages have escape symbols to allow you to make notes. Let us do an example. I'm gonna type in print. I have used an escape symbol here. Then put a pound sign and make a note behind saying computers do not read this note behind the pound sign. They skip to the next line. Then I hit enter. And here we see that the program does not print anything beginning from where we have the pound sign. Using escape symbols to make notes is a cute way for you to keep track of what you're doing, especially when the code you're writing becomes very long. The next thing we are going to talk about are error messages. With a lot of typing, you may make errors at times. The computer will throw up an error message at you. Let us try and see how it happens. Let us misspell print and pass it an argument and see what happens. I'm going to write ptrain. I have spelled the command wrong. Then put the pound sign and say the computer will produce an error message. We get an error message. And here the computer is simply saying, I do not understand you. Can you express yourself in a better way? If such a thing happens with, say, a text editor like Microsoft Word or Notepad, you can simply go and change the text behind. With all programming languages, you can no longer change code you typed in the past. You simply have to type a new one at the prompt. Error messages usually guide us so that we write our codes correctly, but error messages are usually difficult to read. The easiest way to go about them will be to look at the last code you wrote, then try to figure out what error you made. Alternatively, looking at the last line of the error message could hint you where the error lies. Here, for instance, we see name error. Name ptrain is not defined. So we have a hint where the error lies. And we see further that it is with the name ptrain. As you go on with coding, you will begin to learn how to interpret error messages better each day. Let us rewrite it correctly. So I'm going to write print. I have now spelled the command correctly. And then put a note behind using the pound sign. The computer wouldn't produce an error message. And voila, we have our result. By the way, you may now be wondering how it goes on with the series and whether it's going to be a difficult venture. What I have to tell you is relax. It is going to be very easy. And how is it going to be very easy? We do not need all to be computer engineers or scientists to use a programming language. We can be good end users. And how is that possible? For many programming languages like Python or R, engineers have created packages or modules that allow us to do things in an easier way without being experienced programmers. A module is like an additional helper tool you can load onto a program to perform specific tasks. For Python, we are going to use the total module. This will make your first programming experience seem like you are using any other language like English or French or German or Italian or Mungaka. This has been a gentle introduction into the Python environment. In the next lesson, we are going to learn more about the total module and write more code that will control the total to draw things for us on our screens. In doing so, we are going to be getting acquainted with writing codes and producing graphics. See you in the next video.